This is The Changed Physician, episode 215.
Hey, folks, welcome back to another episode of The Changed Physician. Woo, reach out, reach out and touch someone. This is your host, Dr. Kevin Cuccaro, with my amazeballs co-host, Dr. Melissa Katie. Dr. Katie, how are you today?
I'm great. Amazing.
And this particular episode came out because of we started the conversation offline, and I wanted to nip it in the bud, because then we talk about all this stuff and like, oh, we should have recorded this. So we nipped it at the bud. Now we're gonna record it. And basically what it started with is, like, I have all these moments in my life that are like sort of these I don't want to say momentous occasions, but they're moments of time where there's various pieces of pop culture that have come in that I remember very distinctly and have influenced me since. In some of the ways is just I'll hear a phrase and it, like, boom, it pops it up. And so I asked Melissa, and I was like, it just started with like, well, what was your favorite movie growing up? Which I'm going to throw a caveat. I hate the favorite question. So I should have said, what are some of the most impactful things that you watched, like movies that you watched growing up? And you said,
I don't know. And I extended that answer to, I think a lot of the way my brain works is it's thinking of the next thing. And I guess I'm kind of relatively hypervigilant, but aware of it. But my awareness of like why I was the way I was all, like a lot of us. I think, you're just doing what's expected of you. And I was focused on studies, and it's just boom, boom, boom. And I never really reflected well. Like, I don't think I was taught that, or it's just not the way my brain, like, I can compartmentalize, which is good and bad. Like, I can literally just be focused on the next thing. And then I don't really think about what just happened. And then, oh, what was the name of that movie? Like, even like reinforcing what was that movie? Like, I'm just on to the next thing, which I'm reflecting on right now. I don't want to call it inadequacies, but some of my weaknesses is probably remembering some of the moments that you're talking about. So there you go.
Well, I wonder this is, and it could be, because it could be influenced this way I ask a question when I say, what is the most influential? And people perceive that as like it's life-changing or fundamentally made me who I am today, right? And that probably was a bad word, although there's episodes like that occur. But I'm kind of wondering, like, how did pop culture or movies or TV shows, do they ever surface in your life now? And what I mean is, like, if you hear a phrase that may be unrelated to something, does it make you think of a movie? So this is how my brain works. Randomly, someone will say something totally off the wall, or not even off the wall, but they're like, oh, who are you going to call? And immediately I'm going to think Ghostbusters, right? Because they may like, oh, you're going to call, right? Who are you going to call now? Who are you going to go? In my brain won't say, well, I'm supposed to call, John or Lance or Tom or anybody. It's going to be bump, bump, bum, bum, and like my brain is going to do this thing.
Yeah.
And it's influenced by all these moments of time. Like I feel like that there was a TV series talking about TV series where I think this actually occurred to the main character, that he grew up watching TV so much that when things happen, they would flash to these old episodes. I don't remember what the show was called, but I remember thinking, yeah, that's totally on my, and you think everybody's brain works this way, but apparently it doesn't. Like, you don't get these flashes of things.
Yeah, so I get those occasionally, and it's normally for movies that I've seen more than once. There's a repetition kind of probably component. But you know what? Now that we're like talking about movies, there's two that, maybe just because that's what my brain remembers. There's two movies that, well, one I did watch more than once, Dirty Dancing. I love dancing. So, and the actors were, the male actor was quite handsome, but the other one was because of how profound and disturbing it was to me, and it's The Color Purple.
Oh, so, I never watched that one.
Oprah Winfrey, I just looked it up. I think it's a 1985 film.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there was a lot of like, I'm always disturbed at the thought, and it even bothers me that people don't want to learn this stuff. I think you have to be disturbed by the kind of behavior of how Black people were treated in this country. So that one, I don't know, it just popped up in my head that was like an impactful one. And I think it probably did affect me in a way, because I wanted to go to my school and raise money, the We Are the World. I'm not sure what year that was at.
About 1985, I think.
Was it?
I'm almost positive. I mean, if we only had a device that we could look up when we wrote them, but I'm almost positive it was 1985.
Yeah. So, I remember in elementary school, I think it was elementary school, I was wanting to, I helped raise money for, the We Are the World Foundation and whatever. And
1985.
so look at that. Like, I didn't even know this was about the same year, but I just remember like how I didn't understand why we would treat people that way just because they look different. And I still to this day have this hard time understanding why people think they're better than, because just the color of the skin, but yet you want to be darker too. Like there's no there's no rhyme or reason or any like practical understanding as to why we would treat people so. And to me it's a, I can go on my opinions, but the point is that and how can you like live with yourself? And then I guess I wanted to go do, so I've always felt very open and very, even though I lived in a predominantly white suburbia place and didn't have a lot of people of color around me, but I've always been very curious and interested. I didn't have the opposite of like, you're less than and I'm afraid of you. I'm like, I go to it. So it was, I think that impacted me. And I really do think the movie had an impact.
Well, and this brings up one of the interesting things about media, right? So there's a lot of criticism about media and blah, 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 or movies and how it changes, but there is a reflection of society. And I think the biggest thing for me was so many of these movies that I watched growing up, there were movies that were supposedly like funny. Mm-hmm. And I watched them and I laughed, right? And some of them were gross humor. You're thinking things like Vacation, which is still sort of a classic. Other ones such as Porky's, if anybody remembers Porky's, which was like, and I look at some of these, not all of them, but some of them, and certainly pieces of a lot of them. And I look at how it was reflective of the era that we lived in at that time and how basically immature we were. Mm-hmm. When like some of these movies are so misogynistic, watching them now, yeah, it makes me cringe. Like, and it makes me cringe that I even laughed at them. And the other part that I think is really interesting is to watch then how it evolves over time. Like a classic movie can be a classic movie. And this thing kind of gives about the whole culture wars thing. There's this element of growing up and becoming more mature. There, as an individual, you can become, you grow up and hopefully are becoming more mature through your experiences and then making better decisions and learning better awareness and understanding more about humans and society and things. Mm-hmm. I think culturally we go through this process as well. And culturally, being able to say that was not right at that time, yeah, is not the same thing as saying you are a bad person now, right? Because of, right? Just to go back and look at some of the horrendous activities that we did in this country and to be able to recognize those. Mm-hmm. We are not saying we are a horrible country now. We are saying we did horrible things then.
And we're better now.
The only way that doesn't change is if we refuse to look at it. And which, oh, well, we don't want to talk about that because that makes us feel bad. There's a reason you're supposed to feel bad. Right. If you're feeling bad, that's actually a good thing because there is a sense of shame that it was wrong.
Right. Right.
So rather than say, oh, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel shameful. I want to hide it off. Take a moment to appreciate that. Yeah. And I don't want to kind of go off the rails too much on that specific topic, but I want to also appreciate how the media has seemed to change over time with these sort of landmark events. when I was growing up, we used pretty nasty language. I'm not going to use it to the way we would describe certain people or certain even genders, certain races, certain sexual orientations was a big one. Like, when you were a kid, boy growing up, and lots of talk like that, which is sort of weird now that you think about it. Like, why were you saying these things?
Yeah.
Particularly about, well, you're this such a, that was a detrimental slur to say. And what I really have been appreciative and been much more cognizant of, particularly over the last 20 years, is how then we're seeing movies and narratives and TV shows that are reflective of a more mature society, meaning we are not regimenting people into a role of, well, only this type of sexual orientation is the only way, despite the fact that we know that different sexual orientations have been around for the entire time that we've had human existence. And it's only been relatively recently that we've made it such a bad thing, that we have the, sort of mixed race people on TV, which is much more prominent. When we're seeing people, we're not seeing this whitewash of things, that we recognize that there are other races that are as prominent and have had really game-changing things and can carry a role. That I really appreciate. I think that the media or the entertainment industry gets a bad rap when really what they're showing is a more mature society. Anyway, so I also watched this. I remember watching, and you say, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is on screen. This is really interesting." Oh, and they did it again. This is sort of normalizing it, and some people I could see be very threatened by it.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I'm like, wow, all of a sudden there's representation. These people are demonstrating. We now have role models that are showing that you can have stable people doing good things, who are good parents, who are good friends, who are good people in society. Not all of them, because when I watched one where guy was like a gangster and he had his male partner, and it's like, well, that's different. You wouldn't, most people would say that, but you can also have good representation and be the bad guy, So, so I kind of went all kind of a different place, but I do think media plays a very important role in the world. And so we should be a little bit more aware of how that plays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking about, if you heard a little noise in the background, Siri apparently wanted to be part of the conversation.
Oh, Siri.
Yeah. So I just took off that watch so it stopped.
What was Siri triggered by? What did we trigger Siri with?
I don't know. Something you said that was very strange.
Hmm.
No, but I was thinking about even some of the stuff I used to watch, Little House on the Prairie, and what was the gosh, there was All in the Family, and just thinking about the Jeffersons, and even some of these things where it was from a gender role. Like it's kind of like what I experience today a lot whenever I say I'm in the medical field, instead of me saying I'm a physician. They're like, "Oh, are you a nurse?" I'm like, "No." It's just like you're wired to think that this person is supposed to be a male, or this person who's of color is supposed to be the maid or the chauffeur. Like there's all these expectations based on what we've been exposed to, what seems normal. And movies have a big impact on our impressions of those things, of course. So it is interesting when I think about what I was seeing repetitively on the shows, the series. Alfred Hitchcock, I love that one, by the way. Murder, She Wrote. I love those things. So these things are starting to pop in my head now that we're talking about it. But I think it is interesting to go back and look at it and see through the lens of someone, not just in this current generation or in the current age, in this current decade, but just how you've grown as an individual and developed and seen right now we just discovered live talking that I had no idea that The Color Purple and We Are the World was the same year, and I didn't even piece that together and how that impacted me.
Yeah, now you don't. Yeah.
Now I do.
Yeah.
But my memory didn't serve me to like put it all together, but it probably had some correlations there. But what about you? Anything else movie wise, or since you pulled me into this?
well, yeah, because we've sort of got off. I was going to originally, specific types of movies, and I think the biggest thing for me is really looking back at older movies and being able to distinguish what was a good movie that may portray things that are not acceptable in this day and age, versus movies that weren't really good at all and simply exploited kind of those roles. Like I use the word Porky's. Like I don't remember all the Porky's, but I do remember there was a lot of, it was basically gross humor, and it was a bunch of adolescent, basically boys, pretty much victimizing women, like quite literally, right? There were scenes in some other ones like Revenge of the Nerds that there was a sex scene in that one that is essentially a rape. There oh my God, there was a movie from the 1960s or 1970s I watched. I think it was like the Flight of the Condor or something with Robin Redford, that there was a scene in there that was played that was, again, basically a rape. It is. So those ones really, it's uncomfortable when you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that people even thought that this was appropriate at that day and age. Other ones, though, I think there's been a lot of like fun influence, having these kind of cultural references, and you can see those come up in pop culture, and you see them kind of repeat in modern media and TV series, Star Wars being a big one. When you can recognize a scene that perhaps comes from Blade Runner or E.T. or those kind of fun roles, those have made an impact on me. And it provides almost a sense of shared identity with people who've seen a lot of movies. Like I have a cousin, my sister, we can just say a couple of stuff, like one word, and we'll know exactly what the other person's talking about because of these shared experience that have come from these movie roles. There was somebody long time ago who was friends with, who grew up basically without TV because they were really isolated area of Nevada at the time. And they didn't watch these shows. And I remember thinking this was a little weird, and there was almost an empty space because I have these cultural references. They had no clue what I was talking about because they had never watched those things, or certainly hadn't watched them when they were young and impressionable or whatever. So it wasn't a very memorable event.
Well, that brings up a good point, that there's not only gives you something in common to discuss or have like social interactions with people, which my husband can like talk forever on all these movies and remembers all these things and remembers all the actors and actresses and like super knowledgeable and can like pick out the other 10 movies they've been in that I have no idea what they were. And so it can be helpful there. But I think as a physician, there's times where just to put your brain on standby, or just kind of just disengage from your constant work and whatnot, and can create, once you get started watching, you actually can get kind of consumed by the storyline, and you're like, wow, I if you don't give yourself the chance to watch it, which I can say personal experience, that I have to kind of force myself. And then I'm really glad I watched most of the movies. But yeah, I think there's a beauty to that. And my question for you is, of the genres of movies, what are the ones you tend to steer towards
now in this day and age?
Comedy, drama, documentaries, knowledgeable acquiring knowledge kind of things, or
it is very mood dependent. I would say I probably don't watch as many documentaries as I should.
Action, adventure.
I watch a lot of action, and for whatever reason, like those are revenge type actions are very easy for me to consume, which maybe I just have this darkness in my soul that's like burning out. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's probably the ones that I kind of gravitate to. I gravitate a lot to the secret agent kind of identity, or something secret. Yeah. And I think maybe that has to do with, I always thought being a spy, probably growing up because of James Bond movies, I always wanted to be a spy. It was just I always found the part about lying and killing people to be the challenging aspect of it. So apparently I couldn't be James Bond, although he doesn't really lie that much, which is always weird. I don't know how he survived because he's never really trying to hide himself.
Yeah.
I watch those a lot. I don't watch as many, and this is going to sound kind of crazy. I don't watch a lot of rom-com stuff, romance comedies, but I enjoy them. And I just watched this kind of a combination of a high school, funny high school kind of movie with kind of the revenge thriller thing. I'm trying to think of what the combination would be, like Mean Girls with Jason Bourne kind of a deal. It was so funny. These girls being trained as like super assassins from the time they were little, and then this one, and I can't remember the actress's name, but she plays whoever the Hawkeye person, the woman in Hawkeye is, his little apprentice in the Disney Plus series. But she was the main character, and she wanted to be in high school, and so I watched it, and oh my God, I thought it was so funny. It's just like, yeah. So I guess the big ones are the action kind of revenge ones. For the darkness. I do enjoy sort of now I remember for sure, time travel movies where people go back. Groundhog Day is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love Groundhog Day, and there's multiple variants of Groundhog Day that I really enjoy, like Palm Springs. Awesome. I really enjoyed that one. The Map of Tiny Perfect Things on Amazon, another time where people are kind of stuck in this thing and they have to redo it over again. Or they kind of magically go back to a younger self and kind of redo lives. Like, I guess that's the classic sort of Back to the Future thing. And I guess that says a lot about me because I've been actually verbalizing to people, man, I wish that we get older and we learn all this stuff. And it makes me, I'm like, man, we almost need a do-over in life. Like where we take all this information, and then we should, instead of just like getting wiped off the map, if we believe like you get repurposed or whatever, it's like, man, and then you need to do over. It's like, you've done the practice run. Now I need to do it for real with all the stuff that I've actually learned. And it would be, I guess I could change my future, but man, there's a lot, man, if I can go back and do that, if I could go to a bad doc, do that and things.
Yeah. Well, that would be a unique opportunity to do that. I always think
in the movies, they do it all the time.
I know, damn it. Well, do you ever watch cartoon movies? Movies?
Well, I wouldn't say the cartoon. I've had an appreciation for animation for essentially my whole life. I like anime. I raised my kids on quite a bit of like Miyazaki films. Had played a big role in our household. And I see them as an art form. And apparently in Japan, they are an art form. They're, they are a big deal. And there's a couple animations that I think everybody should watch. So the Avatar Airbender series, the first one, the 3 episodes, is still one of my favorite series of all time. If it comes on, I can watch it. It doesn't matter what the episode, I will watch it. I love that show. I watch it with my kids multiple times. It is literally one of the best pieces of media out there, and it's animated. God, I think there's other movies like that have really impacted you. A lot of Miyazaki, man, they make you think. Like there's moments in those that really, really kind of hit you hard. And there's other times I'm like, I think there was something lost in translation here because this is not, something seems to be missing. Yeah. But I don't see animation as being kids stuff. There's definitely cartoons and kids stuff, but it can just be as evolved as everything else. Oh, Arcane on Netflix, which it's a series, animated series, beautiful animation based on a video game, League of Legends. And that series is amazing, like amazing. I would seriously, it is just, I can't even, the animation is phenomenal. And the storytelling is so good. Where they focus on this kind of family dynamic and this kind of, it is so good. Like if someone watches that, go watch it now, folks. And you can tell me if you don't like it, let me know. Cause I'm going to ask you why. I want to know what it is that I'm missing here. Cause it was one of the best series I've seen ever. I can't watch that one over and over again though. Like Avatar, I just can watch. I love that show. It is so good. And I saw
the movie.
That sucked. It was horrible. Horrible. Like,
I
don't, I
liked
mean,
it.
oh my God, it was so bad. It was so horrible. Did
I
you
think
watch the animated show?
no.
Oh, Melissa,
I know. I've let you down.
you've let
I'm
me
so
down.
sorry.
You've let me down. No, it is the movie needs to go away. It was crap. The
Well, they're supposed
series,
to come out again in, I don't know, 2023 or 2024.
a new one, redo
Like the next one.
of the movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. But and I actually really love the Avatar, their Pandora, and
oh, that was fun.
Disney.
That one's going to come out again. There's 3 more movies I think planned for that one.
For Avatar.
Avatar, the blue people on the planet Pandora. Yeah, there's supposed to be 3, I think, coming out.
Okay. But I just saw the movie. You said you hated it.
No, I thought you were talking about Avatar, like Avatar, the Airbender movie.
No.
So we're talking about 2. There's Avatar, the Last Airbender TV series.
No, I'm not talking about that.
Okay, and then there was Avatar, the Last Airbender movie, which was garbage. And then there's Avatar, the Blue People, which is basically Dances with Wolves on Another Planet.
Yes, that's the one I love.
Okay.
So let me make this clear.
All right, that was a fun movie.
Yes,
Yeah.
and when I went on that ride, which freaking love it, it's like the best ride ever.
In Disney World, or no, in Animal
Disney
Kingdom
World.
in Disney. Yeah.
Yeah, in Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
We want to go again. We're like kids with this. It is so amazing. I don't want to spoil it, but it's a very short ride, but it's like astounding. But when I went to the gift shop afterwards, it had part of the Navi language. They because I'm the challenge doctor, I saw the word Savako means rise to the challenge. And I was like, oh, I love that. So I had to get like a shirt from there. So anyway, I love that movie. And I did ask you about like cartoon stuff. Like my husband and I actually, I don't know what this says about us, but we're kind of a little kid in us, I guess, but we like to like Moana and some of these Disney movies.
Yeah, Moana's great. Talk about how media has transformed. Disney media. Watch old Disney movies, Snow White, Cinderella, and you got this passive
white
girl.
Yeah.
Well, it's bleach white, right? Everybody's white. You have a passive girl who's waiting for the prince, and they fall in love. I mean, totally unrealistic. I mean, there's some of them I still enjoy.
Yeah.
Some of them, like I hated Little Mermaid and continue to hate that. Because I guess I was mature enough to watch that one and say, well, why in the world you've never met this guy and you're giving away your most precious gifts to do just I mean, whatever. That's so stupid and passive. Versus now where you have stronger Disney heroines, you have different races and different cultures. So say what you will about Disney, and there's definitely some criticism that can be done there. But through their movies have evolved in such a way that they are definitely more mature and they are more appropriate for society as a whole because they demonstrate to everyone an aspect of inclusivity without bashing over your head in silly ways.
Yeah.
So the new Disney movies I think are just great. I really enjoy them.
Yeah. So we enjoy that. And I tend to veer towards documentaries and stuff, but not always. But yeah, I think that's the problem with being a physician. It's like you're always like trying to know more and understand more. And it's not just physicians, but I have a tendency towards consuming information versus like just being part of a story. I'm trying to be better at that. So I've titled my husband CEO, Chief Entertainment Officer of the household. So he's in charge of finding things to broaden my horizons.
Broaden your horizon. That's good.
On movies.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you wanted to add to the movie chat and how they can change our lives or impact us?
No, other than you mentioned Disney World. I'm like, man, I really like a trip to Disney World. How fun would we have a change physician event in Disney World?
That would be cool.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Anyway,
that's it. I don't have anything else on that other than say movies change you, maybe movies influence you. If you, the listener, have a particular, I would actually love to hear a particular movie from your youth that has lifelong impact on you? If so, you can give me a quick just note telling me what the movie is and why it was important to you at Dr. Kevin at thechangedphysician.com. And why don't you take us out there, Melissa?
All right. Well, if you haven't heard about The Changed Physician, you can go to thechangedphysician.com and be part of our community there, whether you're a physician or a physician ally. We'd love to see you there. And don't forget, we do Saturday salutations on Facebook almost every Saturday, 2 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Pacific. And we look forward to seeing you there. But until next time, you all take care.
Stay well, folks.